Welcome to this CrossYoga slow class. Today I'll guide you through a class with lots of really great stretches for your shoulders and for your back. And I'll invite you to find something that reminds you of a strap. It can be a belt, scarf, a tie, something like that. I'm sure you have something in your closet somewhere. So find that and just leave that by the side of the mat and then come into a seated position as comfortable as you can. And CrossYoga is Christian yoga, which means it's yoga for everybody. And we have prayer, we have a little bit of Bible reading and reflections involved in the class. First, we want to continue with our breath and breathing in deeply. So with your sitting bones on the mat and with a tall erected spine, close your eyes. Relax your shoulders, face, hands. Breathe in and out through your nose if you can. Checking in with your body. What is your body saying to you today? Slow your breath even more. Maybe counting on your inhale and exhale. So you can follow my counting inhale as I count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. And continue counting on your own. Either sit and continue with your slow breath or move around, still seated probably, on the mat. Move your spine, whatever works for you. If you like to listen as you move, maybe that's what you're going to do today. I'll read a very short passage is called, from the Passion Bible, or the translation called the Passion. It's from John 10. And Jesus is comparing us to sheeps. I like that, because in a modern day thinking, you're like, sheep? Am I like a goat or a sheep? But back then, sheeps were very, had a lot of value. So sheeps were really a gift to have. So in that sense, it's a little bit different than what we think today. But it says here, Jesus is speaking. But the true shepherd walks right up to the gate. And because the gatekeeper knows who he is, he opens the gate to let him in. And the sheep recognize the voice of the true shepherd. For he calls his own by name and leads them out, for they belong to him. And when he has brought out all his sheep, he walks ahead of them, and they will follow him, for they are familiar with his voice. Jesus is telling us this story because that's how it was, or still is, I guess, with sheep and their shepherd. The sheep know the voice and the tone of the shepherd, and they follow him. And the shepherd knows the sheep, and here it's by name. Move around on the mat, child's pose, and we'll begin with a little bit of a slow warming up sequence. So you're going to have hip width distance in between your knees as we're going to go into tabletop in just a moment. So your hands are not that far away from your body. Now move up on all fours, moving your spine towards the sky, chin towards your chest, navel in. Moving into our cow pose. Lots of animals today. And again, actually the cat pose, spine up. Tuck your pelvis a little bit in under your thighs, so you shorten the distance between the shoulders and your pelvis. And then sink your hip back towards your heels. And these movements we do with our breath. So you inhale as you move up to your cat pose. Exhale, cow pose. Inhale, again up cat. And exhale, move back into child's pose. And I invite you to close your eyes and move. Inhale up, cat. Cow. Exhaling. Inhaling again. Lifting your spine up. Moving back 2 more times through, and I'll just let you do it as in quietness. Whenever you reach child's pose again after the second time, just stay there. Move your hands further to the front and then out to your right side. So you walk your hands out to the right side, your chest and trunk kind of follow along a little bit. Palms on the floor so you feel a stretch, maybe more on your left shoulder or under the shoulder girdle there. And then walk your hands back, opposite stretch. This passage to me has a lot of meaning. Back in my early 20s, this passage was one of those that really spoke to me that God's love is not just far away or distant. He is the shepherd that actually knows the name of the sheep. He knows you and me. And we know him. Walk your hands back to the front. Spread out your fingers up and towards down dog. Hip up and back and stretch your legs, maybe one at a time. Connect with your breath. And try to notice if you can feel a little bit of a squeezing together behind your shoulder blades. Your scapula is involved in this kind of moving shoulder blades a little bit back and together to create space between your ears and your arms. Look to the top of the mat and walk your feet to that top. Fold forward. Remember to bend your knees a little bit. Do what you need to do to open up. Meaning opening up your hamstrings and your back. And I'll invite you to take up your right arm towards the sky, to twist a little bit, maybe take it back behind you, looking up. Remember to bend your knees quite heavily. Arm up again and down towards the ground, and you maybe follow your gaze with that hand. And then on the left side, arm up, maybe behind you, reaching up again to the sky, and then forward fold. One more time on each side. I like to inhale as I rise up my arm, exhale as I move my arm back, inhaling as I move my arm up, and exhaling down. Opposite side, inhale, arm up, behind you, looking up, reaching up, and down. Bend your knees, hip back, chair pose as you slowly lift up your trunk or your core here. Tuck your pelvis underneath yourself, feeling your quads. And then reach up. Now let your thumbs interlink so you have those wings with your hands, and reach back, elbows out to the side. And you grab your thumbs and really pull a little bit. No need to move far back, just a little bit of a chest opener and opening up of our lower back. And let go. Release hands down by your side. You might want to move your shoulders a little bit. Hands above your head. And then fold forward. Let your fingers reach down on the mat. Take your right leg and step it up. Stretch it out. Maybe lift up your chest. Close your hip. And stay here with your legs really stretched. Toes pointing towards the floor. So maybe take a look. And then lower your foot down. We're not going into Warrior 3. Warrior 1. So that back foot a little bit out to the side, and then we still have hip width distance in between the heels. Now you might want to grab your strap now. You can do this without the strap, but I'll invite you to take it into your hands first, just figuring out how to get into Warrior 1. So this back hip, your right hip, I would think. You want to take that a little bit to the front, squaring off the hip. Now this front thigh is really bended, knee and ankle above each other. Shoulders down and connect with your breath. Your breath is familiar to you. And maybe sometime God speaks through our breath as well. And let's move into humble warrior. And this is where I suggest you take your strap behind you. Either double or just whatever works. Now you can either take your thumbs towards each other. Actually, what I like is my pinky finger towards each other. Bend your elbows and squeeze your shoulder blades. And of course, the smaller the distance on your strap, the more of a stretch, but have a little bit of a distance though. Come on the inside of your thigh and move your arms above your head. And you can always create a little bit more length. The more length on your strap, maybe the further your hands can reach down behind you. Trying to figure out that your spine is not completely rounded. And see if you can come up again. Navel in, engage your core as you lift up. Lift through that front foot. Take the strap here to the front and then turn on your mat into wide standard forward fold, or we're actually not going to fold forward right now. Now your heels are aligned, so you might want to adjust your stance on the mat. Take your arms above your head with the strap. Thumbs pointing in. Shoulders a little bit back, outward, rotated. And then open up your chest, so leaning slightly back. I'll invite you to really use your root lock, pelvic floor. Navel a little bit engaged here as your core is holding you. And your arms kind of hang back, elbows with a micro bend. Using your core, coming into a straight spine again. You can let go of your strap and just a little bit of a gentle forward fold. If you like your toes to point a little bit in, heels a little bit further out than the pinky toe, I would find that a really great way for a stretch. Top of your head moving further down. Maybe take a hold of your ankles and pull your head further down. Align your hip with your heels. Let go. Now walk your hands to the top of the mat where they normally are. The back foot there almost stays the same way, aligned with the short end of the mat, so maybe toes a little bit out. Warrior 2. Take your strap in the back arm. So I guess that will be your right hand. Reaching out, sinking again low in the front thigh. Reverse your warrior so the front hand reaches up and the back hand moves down towards the back thigh, still holding your strap. It will make sense in a little bit. Notice if your shoulders are still aligned with your hip, your knees and your ankles. Again, engage your core as we lift in to triangle pose. You can definitely shorten the distance in between your legs if you like. Now make sure your hip is still aligned with these heels. Take your strap. Not if you're new to this, then you just let this top hand, your left hand, reach down towards the thigh. Navel in and then reaching a little bit to the side. You'll probably not feel a stretch here as much as core strength because we really need to engage our core to be able to stay here. But of course, the further you reach down, the more you'll engage everything in your body. And just kind of pull that strap away from each other, like you want to tear it apart. One more breath. Coming back. Warrior 2, yet again. And strap at the back end of your, or the back arm there. Warrior 2 with a binding or an option of a binding. Step 1, this front hand down on the floor or on a block if you like. This arm is reaching up with the strap. Then take your hand here behind you. Just going to move to the other side so you'll be able to see. Hand here, move it behind you, bending the knee, the elbow back. So you can choose to stay here or take the hand underneath from the floor and reach on the strap. If you're used to doing that, you probably will just reach for your fingers, but try to use your strap. Try to square off your shoulders so they're on a vertical line stacked. Try to breathe. Lift that top shoulder a little bit further back for a deepened shoulder stretch. And let go. Strap on the floor. Take the back heel off the mat. Move slowly to the front and release whatever you feel like you need to release. And actually, I told you to leave the strap, but take it in your hands and rise up, mountain pose. If Jesus was living today, maybe he would compare us to Dogs, I don't know, because dogs are our best friends, right? But I'm thinking this strap could also be a leash, or things you want to bind animals with to keep them close to you so they don't run off. But the story doesn't say that we need leashes or that God is holding on to us, like pulling us in and home. He's letting us go. So maybe you want to let go of that strap. You're free. You're free to go if you want to. God is not forcing us. And maybe we celebrate that freedom by taking our arms above our head, grasping the hands, folding them behind our neck to support the neck, slow or small micro bend the knee, and then lean back. So that your hip stays somewhat aligned with your heels. Elbows out. A loving relationship is never binding people. It's giving the freedom to love and not to love. Navel in. Hands down by your side, and give your back a little bit of a pause. Slowly melt forward, chin towards your chest again, navel a little bit in as you kind of melt with the top of your back here, shoulders down. Make sure you bend your knees on the way down if you need to. So far down that your hands actually reaches down on the mat. Now lift your left leg up and back, hips still closed. So you can take your hand up and kind of sense where your hip is. Maybe you want to come up on your fingers here to create that length, so you lift up your spine a little bit. So almost like Warrior 3, but not really. Lift the back leg up, flex the foot, breathe. Bend the standing leg, taking your time to lower down, left foot to the back of the mat. Warrior 1, so taking the whole stack of postures on the other side. So just make sure you grab your strap as you move into Warrior 1. Back foot a little bit out to the side, closing your hip. Maybe holding your hip as you move your left hip a little bit further to the front. Noticing your pelvis. Can you tuck it under just a tiny bit more, engaging your core here to make that happen. And then our humble warrior. If this doesn't feel good in your back foot, you can always do your lunge position with the back foot where the heel is off. Okay, hands behind you, either pinky finger towards each other or thumbs. Bend your elbows and take that distance on the strap that you need. Navel in, square the shoulders off with the short end of the mat before you begin to lean forward. Just a tiny bit, or really going deep. So humble ourselves here. Humbling ourselves might also be admitting that sometimes it's just so much easier if we were on a leash or in a string or something like that. Someone who would tell us what to do, what to think, and how to move and how to choose. Then we wouldn't have as much responsibility. But we are more than just animals. Okay, letting go, lifting up, using the front thigh. And then our wide-legged stand. I'll just turn on my mat here. Still with a strap in our hands, and make sure that those heels are aligned. Toes pointing in. Navel in, hip squeeze a little bit in under ourselves. Now reach your right arm up towards the sky and just lean to your left side. Breathe. And maybe turn that thumb down and pinky finger up. Using your core as you lift up. And switch sides. You can just move the strap to the other hand. Noticing that the hip would love to move back, but tuck it in. Leaning to the side with everything. So you're kind of squeezed in, thinking that you're squeezed in between two glass mirrors here. Again, core involved. Front, forward fold. Maybe going deeper this time, I don't know. The feet a little bit further out to the side, making sure the whole sole of the foot is actually reaching down. If you want to go for a headstand here, move up on all fours, this version of the tripod headstand. Go ahead and play with that. And then lift up again. Walk your hands to the top of the mat again. Warrior 2. So turn the back foot a little bit to the back end of the mat. Lifting up into Warrior 2. Try to picture your spine like one line of the cross and your hands as the arms of the cross, so you get those alignments in there. And pay attention to your thigh, maybe especially your inner thigh. That tend to be a little bit weak. So using your inner thighs to move the knee, or keeping the knee aligned with the ankle. And that's still happening as we reverse the warrior, front palm reaching up, still bending quite deeply in the front knee as you lean your core back. Either look down or look up. All right, Warrior 2, but with the front hand moving to the inside of the foot. And again, the strap in the back hand. Yet again, Warrior 2, maybe with a binding. As we did before, bent the hand reaching up, bent the elbow reaching down, opening up the shoulders. So take the top shoulder a little bit back. This hand from the mat underneath the knee, not underneath your hip, but underneath the knee, and take a hold of the strap. Keep it there. Lift through the arch of the foot. And let your breath come all the way down. Awesome. Let go. Strap on the mat, heel off the back foot there. Step back, down dog, and shake any tiredness out. Side out if you need. If you feel like a vinyasa, meaning that plank to low plank and all that, go ahead and do that. That will be a plank on an inhale. Exhaling, moving a little bit to the front of the foot there, lowering down, elbows by your ribs. Inhale, Cobra Up Dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Micro-bend your knees if you like. And you don't have to get the heels all the way down. And you can sway a little bit from side to side. That's always a nice thing to do. We're gonna sit on the mat. So if you can jump through your hands, go ahead and just play with that. If that's not so accessible, just lift the heels off, bend the knees, and then jump across your legs as you somewhat get to the front of the hand there. Like that, and then sit. That's a nice option too, right? Strap somewhat here close by you. Leaning back, shoulders back, and maybe outward rotate your arms, taking them out to the side. Navel in. Either sit here or lift your heels off and find a version of boat pose. Even though you might feel strong, you might still shake here. All right, hold your knees and lower down on the mat. Doesn't that feel good? Hug your knees in so that your lower spine is still on the mat. We're going to use the strap for our last postures to really open up the hip and the lower back, and actually the hamstrings as well. So let go of your left leg. Right leg towards the sky there, and take your strap and find the middle part of the foot. I love using both my hands here and kind of pull my foot towards the ground behind me. But of course you don't reach. No surprise there. If you need to bend the knee, just do that, that's fine. If you stretch your leg, you will get your calves here involved, the stretch, and that's actually quite nice, I think. Relax your shoulders and you can close your eyes. La 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 la. You can deepen the stretch on your hip by resting your left leg further down. But you need some flexibility in your hip to be able to do that, so only do it if it feels good. Gonna open up our hip. So right foot you're holding right foot and right hand is on the mat, and left arm reaching out to the side. So take a hold of the floor and then open up your hip. Move your leg to your right side. The further you pull your leg up so that the toes point toward your head, the more it will stretch on your inner thighs, like the inside part of your hamstrings. Now your spine, sitting bones or glutes are still on the mat, so you're not moving out to the side. Pull that leg in again. And then for that spinal twist, so left hand on the strap, and then you're gonna cross the leg to your left side. And as I have stairs here, I'm just gonna move a little bit out. And this time you will come out on the side of your hip like you're resting on the side in your bed. Right arm reaching out, maybe just
bending the elbow for that shoulder to relax, or all the way out if it's accessible. Have you ever in your life really thought that you heard Jesus' voice or God's voice? What made you in doubt if you were like, maybe? I think most of us are, well, maybe. But when you're saying, maybe it was God, I'm not really sure, what made you doubt that it was God? Coming back on your back, releasing your foot. Catching left side as we will do those 3 stretches on the other side. Again, I'll advise you to use both hands or arms, because then you can kind of relax down. Just let gravity, as you hold these strap parts, gravity do its work. Remember to keep either your right leg bended, or if you like, stretch it out a little bit maybe. Now if this leg you have elevated is shaking, you might be stretching a little bit too much. So don't make it like shaking, and then you're doing it too hard or too much. Again, close your eyes. Calm your breath. Time to open up the hip. So left hand on the strap, right arm up so you don't fall out to the side as you move your leg to your left side. Just a little bit, and even just further down, this is fine. If this is where your hip is, do that. I have people in my classes sometimes which legs can reach all the way down on the floor. That's pretty flexible hips, I would say. I try to relax my thighs, my legs as much as possible, but actually my core is quite involved because I don't want to fall out to the side, and that need to create some stability in the core to be able to stay here. And back, switching hands, and maybe moving on your mat to be able to. So stay on your mat as you roll your foot out to the opposite side. Opposite arm not holding the strap. Left foot, right hand on the strap. Relax your thighs. This is a glute stretch as well. I truly believe that God is speaking a lot to us, and some people call that the intuition, or like the sixth sense, or whatever you want to call it. And of course, I believe God speaks a lot through the Bible, through the words there, but also in our everyday life, with ideas, with great thoughts about ourselves and others, maybe sometimes things that we can do for others. Always aligned with loving God and our neighbor as ourselves. And release. Coming back on your back. And after these stretches, my back loves this hucking of the knees. And I'll guide you through a 3-minute meditation with just 1 minute of silence. So I hope you're up for this, even though it's online. So stretch out your legs, feet fall a little bit out to the side, hands on the floor, again, palms facing up. Close your eyes. Relax. And then use your imagination to picture yourself in this scenario, this picture that Jesus is telling us. That he is the shepherd, the loving, embracing, caring shepherd, and we are the sheep. Maybe you are out on the fields somewhere. And if you take that image of the shepherd and you being a sheep together with other sheep, where are you right now? Are you running away from the group? Are you stuck somewhere in between some stones maybe, or in a bush? Where are you? And maybe this is what Jesus is asking right now. My child, where are you? And what would your response to Jesus be? Silence? Or here I am, help me? Are you still trying to figure out how to get out of your situation by yourself? Right now, I'm picturing myself like running to Jesus, looking him into his eyes and saying, please carry me a little bit. Carry me just a few steps. I need that. Please stay here on the mats. A few more minutes if you like. I'll close the video for now and just let it go for a few more, half a minute or so with silence. But from my heart to your heart, thank you for joining. And let the shepherd speak to you today.